Welcome back to Bulletcatcher Gaming. This is of course Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Today's video is all about the raid. Now, whether you have done the raid before, whether you haven't, whether you tried it and you couldn't get anywhere with it, or whether you're a raid professional, this video I think you'll find very interesting. We have a special guest on to help us with this. I've raided before, not that often, but this gentleman has raided over and over and over again. Havoc Gaming. The link to his channel is going to be in the description below. We thought, why not get a professional raider on to really answer your questions and answer the questions that I think that the raiding community or people who are considering raiding might like to hear. So I'm going to introduce you to him in just a second, but before that, we have a Discord. If you'd like to jump onto our Discord, we have competitions on there. We have a video competition, a photo competition, things like that. Please feel free to jump on in. We hugely appreciate it. And we appreciate anybody who has recently subscribed, any of you that watch our channel. Honestly, very humble. It means a lot to us. So thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you now to Havoc Gaming.
Thank you, man. Nice to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Havoc Gaming, and I'm doing raids and other stuff on Breakpoint, but mostly are raids, and some of them are stealth videos of the missions or just raiding bases, but most of them are raids here.
So Havoc, how many raids do you actually think you have completed thus far?
I think it's about 500 raids now, maybe 200 of them are critical and the rest is normal raids or regular raids.
That's absolutely crazy. So many raids. I've only done a few myself, but it's enjoyable. But so what we want to do is we want to have an in-depth look at the raid improvements, how it is currently, what can be done to bring more players into the raid. We're going to discuss raid weapons. We're going to discuss whether people should have access to them or not. We're going to go through the whole shebang with Havoc because he's got so much experience with this. Now please do check out his channel. Once again, link is in the description below. He's got some fascinating videos over there. So Havoc, what do you think of the current build right now? What do you think of the raid as it is right now, playable like today? How do you think it is?
The current state of the raid for me is a little too buggy. The raid himself, it's okay. The intels, the tasks that you have to do to reach every boss, but the issue with the raid at the moment is all the bugs from Ubisoft. So with every update, they make things worse. Every update they do, they add felt like 3 or 4 more bugs to the raid or to the game. But I feel it in a raid, and it's starting with random disconnects or bugged boss fights or people showing up right in the middle of the road where you're driving and stuff like this. But mostly the disconnects are really, I don't know, it's really stressing the people out, and they're just frustrated because they are always losing the connection, and the raid is either interrupted or it's bugged that you cannot go on with the raid and you have to start over. So these are the main issues with the raid. I think the raid with this mechanics is okay, but the bugs are the problem.
So what happens, Havoc, if you're playing a game and you've got 4 of you in there and it kicks one of you out because of one of these disconnects? What actually happens?
Normally, it's when someone loses the connection, he just disappears from the game, and there is a message pops up, and it says not enough players for the raid or to continue. You can continue. You are still in the raid, and you can go on until you reach the next boss. But for you to enter the boss arena, you have to be 4 players. So you have to either reconnect, and if he's lucky, he will stay in, or it's gonna delay the game, and you have to reconnect over and over again until it's fixed or until it's going on. But yeah, the worst thing that can happen if someone disconnects is that it bugs the session. So, for example, you are at quantum computer at the entrance, and someone disconnects at this moment, and you wait for him to reconnect, and then the session is bugged. You cannot enter the boss. This is the worst thing that can happen, and you have to restart the raid, or you have to restart from this position that you were in.
Now, you were talking about bugs there. I've seen a few during the raid, soldiers appearing on the road randomly. I've seen the one with Baal where nothing happened and he wouldn't move, for example. I know earlier you said to me before we started that you had never seen that one before. I have seen that one. But do you find that sometimes when we get a new update, whether it's a live event or something like that, do you find that even though that there are fixes for bugs in those updates, it kind of creates new ones at the same time?
Yeah, you are right, and the bugs are better now, or it's how to say it's not as bad as it was before. Now, for the last few weeks, I think the rate is running really good for as stated it is, but I think it could be better if Ubisoft would put more work into bug fixing instead of bringing new camos and other stuff. I think this will be improve the quality of the game for all players, not just for the raiders, but also for the players who like to do missions and the storyline or to do PvP. I think the PvP players are really screwed at the moment because the new update brought them really really bad bugs. And yeah, the raid is okay for
Yeah.
now. The raid is okay for now. It's way better than it was maybe a month ago or 2 months ago. But it's still there. The bugs are still there in the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, regards to bugs, the PvP players have really had it bad since the very beginning. There's bugs still in the game now that were there at the release of the game. I fully understand that Ubisoft wanted to put priority into bringing the things into the game that people wanted, the ghost experiences, the AI teammates, things like that. I do fully understand that, but I do feel really bad for the PvP players. The recent bug with the queue, and the huge amount of bugs. We did a video recently about PvP, and there's so many issues that there just wasn't enough time to kind of cover them all. So I do feel bad for them. But anyway, next question. So, do you feel that the raid has lost a bit of its shine as such when Golem Island a few months ago was opened up for all players to be able to explore it, walk around it, and do all that kind of stuff? Do you think opening up Golem Island, it's hurt the raid or hurt the raiding community overall? What do you think?
No, it's okay for me because the players who are about the game, I know the frustration when you're a new raider. I had experienced the same. I was playing with randoms and I had none raids under my belt. I didn't know what I'm doing, and I was playing with randoms, and most of them were glitched, and I was so frustrated that I was almost at the point that I wanted to abandon the game completely. And for my luck, I met a player who introduced me to a server. There were raiders in, and they showed me how to do it and play in the team. And this saved the game for me. And I think with opening Golem Island for all the players, not just the raiders, it's a good thing because they paid for the whole game, but they cannot reach the island. And I think for exploring and for doing missions on Golem Island, it's great for all the players. And if you want that extra kick or you want to challenge yourself, do the raid on regular, do the raid on critical, which is extremely hard, by the way. And I think this is not taking anything away from the raiders. I think it's a good thing for all the players to get to Golem Island and to see how the island is built, what you can do on it, and to explore new areas.
So, Havoc, if you could have Ubisoft's ear, you know what you're talking about with raids, and discuss raids with them, What kind of things do you think you would say to Ubisoft? Look, I think you need to do this. I think you need to change this. What kind of things do you think, ideas could you put across to them to improve the raid and to possibly bring in new players to the raid?
I think the first thing that they should change, and I think I speak for all the raiders, all the pro raiders, or noob raiders, or all advanced raiders, no matter who you are. I think the boss drops is the first thing that I need to improve, because on the boss drops you only get a certain amount of weapons, certain amount of variety in the weapons, and the weapons are repeating. We have a saying on the raids. There are unicorns on the raid, and these are two specific weapons. It's the M4A1 and it's the 5.53, both assault rifles, and they are the unicorns because it took me maybe 250 raids to get one 300 level M4A1. Yeah, but it's a random thing. You can be lucky and get it after your fifth raid, and you got really bad luck and you don't get it at all. So these are the most effective weapons in the raid, and with the new update now, the 4AC. The 4AC is also now called a unicorn because, in my opinion, it's the best assault rifle for the raid that you can use. And I think because of it's a weapon of the life event, they won't put it into the raid or as a reward from the boss fights, because they didn't do it with any other weapon from the previous live events. So let's say Terminator event or Red Patriot
Resistance.
or whatever. None
Yeah.
of these weapons are in the raid from boss drops. And I'm afraid that the 4AC will not drop at the boss after the boss fights. And this is a shame. 300 level 300, sorry.
So why do you think some of those weapons haven't been included? I mean, some people have said that the Amber Sky, some of the weapons are quite overpowered, which it depends on how you look at it. But yeah, the 4AC, for example, is very powerful and very accurate. But I mean, do you think that's why? Because they're maybe going to nerf them, or what do you think? I mean, why would they do that?
I think this is just a normal procedure from them to not implement the live event weapons to the raid. Maybe this will change in the future, but I think the 4AC is not really overpowered. It's just a great all-around weapon for the raid because you can put in a 100-round mag in. The weapon got a decent reload time. It's got a fantastic handling and accuracy, and good rounds per minute, so you can put out a lot of damage in a short amount of time. The M4A1 is even better, but they are nerfed the gun, nerfed the weapon, so it's not this effective anymore. If they didn't nerf the M4A1, it still would be the best weapon in the raid. But now there's damage output is lower in the boss fights. The 4AC is the better choice, and I think I don't think they did it on purpose, but I think the boss drops for the M4 and the 5.53 that are so rare, this is on purpose because the guns are so good and so powerful on level 300 that they make it harder to get.
Now you've talked about boss drops. Are there any other things that you would change, or other things you think that should be implemented into the raid?
Yeah, I think they should add a 6-player raid, so you can join with 6 instead of 4 players. And I think this would be much more interesting for a good group to play a raid. I mean, 4 is okay, but I think 6 would be much. You can still go on with 4 players, for example, but if you want, you can add 2 more. This would be great.
So 6 players makes complete sense. We mentioned this recently on our features needed in the game video. Because I suppose if you look at it, 6 players, PvP, they would like 6 player per teams. I think people have said on the normal PvE mode, the missions and things like that, that if you could have a 6-man team, even an 8-man team, but a 6-man team would be great. Some of the vehicles are even built for 6 people as such. So and 6 players on the raid, that would be cool as well. That would make it really interesting. So really 6 players across the board. So is there anything else that you would add?
Um, I think they should expand the island, make it bigger, because the island is a very small island, and you have to do every week the raid resets, and you have to do different tasks to get to the boss. For example, in 1 week, to get to Ball, you have to hack 4 nodes at Ancient Harbor. In the week after, you have to get the intel from a shipwreck and hack the node at Heliport. And the island is divided in 3 sectors. And I think they should add more sectors, make the island bigger, and add more sectors for more tasks to do to reach the bosses. Or not just one task, for example. Do the 4 panels at Ancient Harbor, for example, and do something else in another sector to unlock the boss ball, for example. They add more tasks to the raid to get to each boss. This would be a great addition, I think.
Now, one of the things that we definitely hear the most regarding the raid is that I've heard it on Discord, I've heard it on the YouTube comments, that some people say that they've tried the raid and they just think it's too hard, it's too overcomplicated. Regards to, they don't like the boss fights, things like that. They find it hard to play, so they avoid it. And some people have never even tried it at all. What do you say to those players that maybe want to try it but are just too worried, or they just haven't got anywhere with it previously? What kind of advice, or what would you say to those players?
I think the people should know that are not playing raid or tried it maybe once or twice. They should know it's a team effort. It's not, the raid is not about one person. If one player fails, the raid is not going to work, or the boss fight. The raid is going to work, but a boss fight will be very difficult. And what we are doing here on our server, on our Discord server, and with our players is when we have new players, we put him always in a team with 3 experienced raiders and 1 new guy, and we go with him through the raid, show him everything, how to do, what weapons to use, what gear to use, what classes, and how the boss mechanics works. And as soon as you get the boss mechanics, and this is usually when you play with experienced raiders, usually after 2, 3, 4 raids, you are almost know, or you know what to do in a boss fight. The raid becomes very easy. Not very easy, but it becomes manageable. And
Yes.
I think doing the raid easier would not come good for the current raid community. It would be better for new players, of course, but it's almost too easy now, even on critical, when you're experienced raider and you've got a good team.
Can you just explain to people who are unsure or don't know or are looking to try the raid? There are 3 different versions of the raid, aren't there? So could you tell people what those versions are and what you get from them and the differences between them?
The low raid is practically, the bosses are not fighting you with their full range of weapons or full range of attacks. For example, they never go to phase 2. There are phases in the boss fights. For example, when you go below 50% health of Baal, he put out a second laser that you have to switch around. He's going faster when you kite him. He will go faster. In low rate, he won't. He just stay at the same speed. And he put only 1 laser out, and there is no wolves there coming out and interrupting you while you're fighting the boss. This is in the low rate, for example. But the downside is you only get level 250 gear, not 300. This is the downside of the low rate. And it's really, it's too easy, even for not experienced players. It's too easy. Then there is a regular raid where you get all the 300 gear in the raid, and the boss is doing all the attacks that he can do, but in a in a normal speed and a normal cycle. When you go to critical, everyone on the island is level 300. Every wolf, every soldier, every patrol, everything. So everyone, even if it's only one soldier, if you don't see him in time, he can kill you with 1 or 2 shots. So they are really deadly, and there are more of them. So more patrols, more drones on the road, more the the help is coming quicker, more choppers. Everything is amplified, and when you go into the boss fights, the attacks are more frequently. So let's say if in a regular fight the attack of gargoyle is every 30-40 seconds, now it's every 12 or 15, and maybe some attacks are coming in simultaneously. So he shoots the EMP grenades out and do the lasers at the same time. So it's really hard compared to a regular raid, and the bosses are all also tougher. So you have to put way more damage to them in order to put them down.
Now let's get on to a different aspect of the raid. So it's got to be talked about. Let's discuss the DMR glitch. Now this was obviously a glitch. It hasn't been around for a little while, but it was constant frustration for people who hated people using the DMR glitch. If you're unsure of what the DMR glitch is, obviously it was a glitch that was used on DMRs, which made them ridiculously powerful, which basically meant that you could melt raid bosses. People used it to go onto the raid and basically grab all of the rewards and the gear. But overall, I think a lot of those people didn't have an interest in the raid. They just wanted the gear. Do you think the DMR glitch helped the raiding community, or do you think it kind of put the raiding community at a disadvantage?
I think the DMR glitch or VMods or whatever cheats there are out in the world, it's really bad for the raid community, because there are people. I understand the people that are just want the loot or the gear from the raid. I understand this, but like in the normal world, if you want something, you have to do something for it, and this is just the easy way out. And most of the raid players that are using DMR glitches or any kind of mods, they are not even know how the boss mechanics works. And if you put them in a normal raid without the glitch, they don't even know what to do with the boss, because they're used to take him out with, let's say, 5 shots, and he's dead. He didn't even had a chance to attack him with something or to give him a task to do, like in a supercomputer, hack the panels and ventilate the room and everything. You don't even have to do this with a DMR glitch. So the people don't know what to do when they are not using DMR glitch. And this is a shame, I think, because the raid is a really good thing, and it's bringing people closer together when they're playing together and doing these missions or these tasks for the bosses. It's really fun, and it's that takes the fun away, in my opinion, all the glitches and the mods.
Okay, thanks for that. So let's move on to another. Well, it's on a similar kind of questioning of that. So obviously, recently, when they expanded the classes, and obviously with the opening of Golem Island, obviously weapons that were in the raid that were specific to the raid were then made available through classes. Now, not all of them, but a lot of them. How did the raiding community feel about that? Because I've read very different opinions about this. Some people very much like not bothered whatsoever, and other people like, well, hang on a minute, we worked hard for that, and now you're giving them away to other players who haven't played the raid.
Yeah, I bet so. I think it is mostly a good thing, because people can now get some stuff of the raid, not everything, but some stuff. In addition, for the raiders, we got other rewards in the critical raid that you cannot get if you not participate in a critical raid and beat it. For example, the M82 Cerberus, that's got over 230 points of damage, the sniper, and you cannot get it when you're not going into a critical raid and beat it. or the MK17, the special one from the critical raid, or other boss weapons that are in the critical raid. You cannot get them. You can get some stuff from the raid, but you cannot get it all. So it is okay for me because we raid players. We also got stuff from the PvP, let's say. So we got
Yeah, we did.
yeah. And I think this is a fair thing to do. You don't have to unlock everything, but give them some. It's no problem for me, and I think most of the raiders in my community are good with it. But there are some of them who are thinking this is not fair because there are players who never gone through a raid but get some stuff from it, and I think it's a mixed bag. But most of them are okay with it, I think.
So, okay, one of the things then that people who haven't raided, one of the items that they all want is the Coblin. And there are others as well, other weapons that from the critical raid. What do you think would happen to the raiding community and raiders in general if those items that are very sought after were just, I don't know, put in the store for purchase, for example? How big of a deal do you think that would be to the raiding community?
I think when you when Ubisoft decides to put in the critical rewards, especially the M82 Cerberus, into the stores for everyone to be accessible, I think you will see a really pissed off raid crowd. I think
Right,
so.
okay.
But I think they're okay with the Goblin and with the other stuff that you can get in a regular raid. This is no problem, I think. But the critical raid is really hard to go through if you're not experienced or you don't have an experienced team. And I think the raiders think that is their right to own it. If you're a raider, you can own it. If you're not a raider, you're not allowed to own the M82 Cerberus, for example. I think in this one they would be angry with Ubisoft if they do that. I'm okay with it. All power to the people, but I think most of the community will be furious about it.
Now, before I move on to the next question, just to let you know, the footage that you're watching in the background, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, is Havoc in one of his critical raids. So hopefully you've been enjoying that whilst we're talking. But I want to move on now to something that is it came up massively at the beginning of this game's kind of life cycle, and that is gear score. So obviously gear score was a massive part of this game at the beginning, and my opinion at least, and I know it's others as well, is that gear score is slowly being drained out of the game. Do you think that affects the raid? Obviously, you know, it's probably the kind of anti-gear score sentiment has most probably what put the kibosh on further raids, at least as far as we know at the moment. What do you feel about that? Are you angry about that? Are you annoyed about that? Are you not bothered about gear score? Should players be able to maybe play the raid without a gear score? You know, what do you think about that? Because obviously there is an issue with you know, the gear score. What never made sense to me is that you put in a division style gear score, but you can still, it doesn't matter, you could have a rank 3 pistol and you could still shoot a 250 rank wolf in the head and kill them. So it was kind of irrelevant. What do you think about that overall?
I don't know. I think the gear score is a part of the game, and it has the right to be there, in my opinion. If you don't like it, if you don't want it, you can turn it off. And if you want to use it, you can turn it on. So I don't understand the complaining about the gear score, because you have the option to just turn it off. I was starting the game with gear score on, and when I was new to the game and didn't know what to do, I didn't even know about immersive or about other difficulties. I just played the game how I installed it and played the game, and saw the benefits of the gear score. And the gear score is only getting you get only benefits from the gear score when you're higher level. When you're a level, let's say 50 or 100, and you go into the game, you're still underpowered. But when you go in an early game and you turn off the gear score, your weapon is making way more damage than a 100 level 100 weapon. So
Of course, yeah.
yeah, as soon as you hit maybe level 200, level 250, of course the powers have the weapons have more power, and you can do way more damage with it, as if the gear score is turned off. But I think both of these modes should be in the game, and for those people who want to use the gear score, they can use it, and for those who don't like it, they just can turn it off. And in my latest videos, I was doing the same. I just turned off gear score. I turned off the HUD. I turned up, cranked up the to extreme and elite, and it's a different experience. And it's really exciting to get something different. And I think it's a great thing that you have the option to choose between gear score on and off, or the HUD, or the different weapons, the attachments, everything. I like it very much.
Now, I want to get on to my final 2 points that I want to discuss with you, and I'm fascinated to hear your opinion on this, Havoc. So, let's get to the first one. Now, everyone is currently waiting with bated breath to find out about year 2. If, for example, it came out that actually they are bringing in a new raid into year 2, what would you like to see in a new raid going forward?
Oh my God. For at first, I wanted to say for next year's, if they put in a raid, they should do it on the second island. On, I think it's called Moa Island.
Yeah.
It's a way bigger island, and I think they can put way more stuff into it. So more bosses, harder options, more weapons, um, more tasks to do on the island. So the problem that we are facing now, the experienced raiders, the pro raiders, the elite raiders, whatever, we finish the raid too quick. Even a critical, we finish in 30 minutes. And it's not challenging anymore. And it would be great to have new content with new bosses, with new mechanics, and the option to put them on very hard or extreme or something like that for more challenges. And this would be great, I think. Just a bigger environment for a raid and more options to choose from. And of course, more and better weapons and more equipment to use in the raid. This would be a great addition, I think.
Now, obviously, you just said there that you'd like to see Moa Island as a raid. I think we all want Moa Island opened up. Now, it's quite interesting because I think you get a lot of people who don't enjoy the raid that will be like, no, don't waste Moa Island as a raid island. But I think maybe there is a way that you could do both. You could have Moa Island be a raid and have normal missions. You could do it very similarly to how they've now done Golem Island. You could still have normal mission objectives on the island to utilise the bases and things that are there. But you could also run a raid at the same time where you just have boss mechanics come in for those people that enjoy raiders. I mean, I think that would placate both sides. I mean, they could even incorporate PvP somehow into that as well. But I'm interested to see what you think about that.
I think it would be great if they add maybe two new islands. So Moa Island and another island for missions, or vice versa. I think the raid needs some new fresh air, or something new, and the second year raid would be great. But I understand that many players would like to have a second island where they can do missions or other stuff, and this would be great as well. I would be good with both of them. But yeah, I would like to see more the raid on the Moa Island.
Right, I want to come on now to the second part of my last kind of questioning, and I'm really interested to hear your opinion on this. So, if, for example, we find out later on that they are definitely working on a sequel to either Breakpoint or Wildlands, whether it be Wildlands 2, Breakpoint 2, whatever it may be, a completely new title. If you have a look, there's a photograph out there that Ubisoft posted, and it was basically community feedback that they turned into like a big giant mural on their wall. And one of the things on there is basically saying moving forward what they should and shouldn't do with Ghost Recon. And one of them was to not include gear score, that gear score should not be a part of the game. Now, obviously, you can still do a raid type scenario without gear score if it was built into the game that way. But how do you think, what would you feel if they went, no, we're not doing gear score, we're not doing raids in a new game? How would you feel about that? Would you feel let down, or would you be okay with it? What's your opinion on that?
I think the people wouldn't have any or not the big problem with the no gear score. I think it's either way it works for the raid community. Even if you if we, I would love to say no gear score on the current raid. It would be great. But to go back to your question, I think if they turn off the gear score for, let's say, Wildlands 2 or whatever the next Breakpoint or Ghost Recon title will be, I would be okay with it. I cannot speak for the community. I think it will be divided. Some of them would like to have the gear score, and some of them would be, okay, let's try it without. If they ditch the raid completely, I think this will be a big disappointment for the raid community. I still think they will buy the game and play the game, but I think they would come back for Breakpoint just for raiding or so. I don't know.
I mean, I could really see a Wildlands 2 or Breakpoint 2 or whatever really going down that route of reducing drones or not even having any drones in it whatsoever, and going with more of a kind of modern military feel. I don't know how that would work in a raid scenario, but I do think a lot of those people we discussed earlier who don't like raiding, part of it is they're not a fan of drones in the game anyway. Behemoths, murmur drones, whatever. And I think that's why it puts them off the raid, because it's like, look, I don't like drones anyway, and now I've got to fight super drones effectively. What do you think?
I mean, I get it why the people don't like the drones. I really get it. And I think the drones should be, I don't know, I'm okay with it like it is, but I would be okay if the drones are only on Golem Island, let's say, only for the raid. This would be okay for me too. So, yeah.
Do you know what I love? That you've got such a chilled attitude regards to the raid. You don't mind people having access to certain weapons and things like that, as you've discussed. And I really like that. And you also understand other people's pain and some of the issues over the raid itself. So moving on from that and finishing off, I'd quite like it if you could tell people a bit about your channel and what you do. Have you got anything interesting coming up? Things that could maybe interest maybe new raiders or potential new raiders. Tell everyone a little bit about your channel.
Yeah, of course. My content on my channel is basically around, on one side is the raid, on the other side is stealth gameplay, and lately I switched to immersive mode and extreme and hard off, and doing base raids or some missions or something, and record this. And I will add a little weapons review, but not review, more of a field test, weapons field test. So I'm gonna go to bases, to different bases with different weapons, test them out, how they work out on extreme mode, on immersive, because it's different than when you have the gear score on, or if you have a lower difficulty. They don't die from body shots. You have to take them 3, 4, 5 body shots, for example, to get one NPC down. And it's videos about that. So stealth play, weapons, different weapons testing in different bases with different enemies, live events, raids, basically everything but PvP. I don't record PvP. I was playing a little bit of PvP, but the waiting between the rounds, the loading time, and the waiting for other players is just too much for me, and I think it's killing the PvP excitement for me, and that's why I don't play much of a PvP. But everything else that you can cover in Breakpoint you will find on my channel. But the main thing is of course the raid, and my next bigger project will be a complete tutorial for the raid for the new players. So it's starting from scratch. It covers tactics, gear, weapons, how to approach enemies, what to do in a raid, how to fight every boss. All the mechanics of the boss will be of the bosses will be explained and showed how to fight them, what is the effective way, what weapons to use, team communications, and all stuff that are related to the raid. It will be covered in this raid tutorial series. It won't be just one video. The first video, for example, will be only about let's say gear, weapons, loadout, and classes. And on the next video, for example, will be how to approach different bases, how to get the intel or destroy the panels or whatever you have to do in there. And it will go on. I think it will be maybe 6, 7, 8 parts. I don't know how I come through with it, but I think it will be very interesting especially for the new players, but also for players who have played raids before, to learn new stuff, to see new stuff from someone who got many raids under his belt and much experience. And I'm glad to share it with all of you guys and to show you how you can go through the raid without any effort or minimal effort, and to have fun with you guys, with your buddies. It's all about fun. It's not about, oh, I'm gonna die 30 times in a raid. You don't have to. Just follow these rules or watch the videos, learn from it. If you got any questions, you can of course text me or get to me in both of our Discord servers. I got my own one, Bullet has his own one, and yeah, I'm happy to help every one of you with this. And this is the next project for me, the next big project.
Right, that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Both Havoc and I really appreciate it. Please pop over to Havoc's channel. Give him some love. He does some fantastic work in the raiding community. And also, obviously, he's got this new video series coming up. If you're new to the raid and you want to get involved, you might want to check those out. Havoc and I also have some more collaborations coming up in the future. And we'll have more information on that soon, probably a live stream and a few other bits. Havoc is also an admin on our Discord, so if you want to come on, you can chat to him on there, and you can also get information from him about some of the raiding Discords, not live streams, but they do live stream on the Discords too, and you can get lots more information from there. So from the both of us, thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Please stay safe out there, and we will see you again on the next one. Bye bye.